very good evening to you. Here we are. I am back again in the workshop, this time with a Marshal G50R CD. It's a Marshal amp, but made under the Park brand name, although the front of the panel does say not the front of the panel, the front of the cabinet says Marshal. And I'm actually re-recording the voice because the original one didn't sound that good. So the voice track may not quite match up with what my fingers and hands and any other bits and pieces are doing on the screen. Here I am. I'm just looking through the actual chassis. I've had the chassis out of the cabinet. The customer was complaining that every now and then it would just cut out, and sometimes it would come back and sometimes it wouldn't, depending on what you touched or fiddled with. You'll have to excuse the fly-by-night camera work here. I was using the camera handheld and just generally looking at the board. What I did notice was something had been spilled in the amp at this point, and there's some corrosion on those two wires, which I don't know whether they're corroded through at this point or not. This is only the initial inspection of the amplifier, and it was just something I've got to look at and clean up on the board and figure out what actually went wrong with it. Seemed to be dwelling a long time on it. I must have been waffling quite badly when I was doing the initial filming here. I did edit quite a bit out, but there we go. That's me. Waffle on, waffle on, waffle on. Come on, get a move on, George. Right, here we are. Now we find another problem. Somebody decided that to fix the cutting out, they'd bypass the send and return sockets rather than actually changing them and fixing the machine properly. They just bodge past it because, after all, nobody uses those anyway, do they? Except for several people I know, and I've shown people that depending on where you put your pedals, changes the sound. So yes, this is a bit of a well, what can I say, a bodge. That's the only real way to describe it. Either somebody was too lazy to do the job properly, or they couldn't. Right, okay, so what do we do? Carrying on flying around with the camera? No, we're back on the sockets. And now, right now, capacitors. Everybody thinks you should change electrolytic capacitors. That's not strictly true. A lot of caps are changed for no particular reason at all. There's absolutely no need to change electrolytic capacitors if they're working fine. The only thing I find with amps like this, especially on amps with such flexible boards, as my finger's poking at them, is that they do break loose from the board, which is why most companies like Marshal they glue some of the bigger ones down to the board. None of these are bulging at the top, but what I will find, and you'll see in a very short while, is that because they're not seated properly, they do tend to wobble side to side. Now that wobbling can lead to dry joints, can lead to the actual machine failing because of movement. Nobody leaves their amp in one place normally. They carry it around. Musicians tend to move them from room to room, to gig, and something along of this sort of size, a 50-watt amp, is quite common to see on stage. So all I'm doing there with my fingers is wobbling the caps and seeing if any are completely loose. Later on, when I actually get round to the actual fix, I tend to just solder them back flush to the board and see if that cures the problem. Right, somebody's obviously cut a cable tie there. And what else am I looking for? Just generally the state of the board, the state of the other electronics. Obviously, whoever's been in there before has flattened those capacitors at the front there. And here we are, another problem. While I was taking the knobs off, getting ready to look at the board, the bass control, actually the spline came out of the centre of the pot. So it was just a matter of that's got to be replaced. There's no argument about that. It's not a push-pull switch. The physical pot is damaged, so that's just a straight replacement. You take the pot out, change it, put a new one in, and then that's really all there is to repair. So from there, we're going to go into the high-speed bit, where we just get rid of all the faulty components, desoldering, soldering. You don't want to hear me waffle on for the duration of this, I'm sure, but that's all I do. Time lapses, quick wipes as I go through bits and pieces, dropping the old components, cleaning the board up with isopropyl, yada 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 yada. I'm going to shut up for a little bit. Right, all we're doing here is a little bit of oscilloscope work, just checking the output of the amplifier with the signal generator, and yep, there we go. Pretty patterns of distortion, boost channel, turning it right up, turning it down, turning it round, all the different settings, and just making sure that none of the other pots cut out or cause any problems. I'm showing that the sine wave's slightly distorted there. It's different levels. It's just lots and lots of fun and games, making all sorts of very loud noises. I actually filmed the video over 2 days. The first part, the fix and replace into the chassis, finished at about 3:30 in the morning. So I'm sure the family wouldn't have appreciated me doing that testing at that time of the day. So I actually waited till the following day to do that. Again, sorry about the zoomed in camera work. It was just to show the screen of the oscilloscope, and it made it a little bit more interesting. Right, that's about there. Okay, here's the ending bit where I just have to say many thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Just about to go into the testing bit, and that's being played by a guy called Sasha Case, and he's in a band called Pyre, both of which I'll link to at the end of the video and down at the bottom. All I can say now is thank you very much again for watching my video, and hope you like it, and hope it wasn't too boring. But there we go. Have a great day. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe. Right, okay, here we go. Bit of noise. Right, so play away, do what you...
Sounds good on that channel.
And now we get the high gain, the very high gain channel.